topic at the moment, so we're going to carry on with this conversation. How are you doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing pretty well, Anita. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So you were telling us last week that you had downloaded a AI friend. How's that going?
I think you've just immediately eroded my credibility in a lot of people's eyes.
You you
Great
you
start.
brought it up last week, didn't you? Just wanted to know a week on. How's that
Yeah,
going?
I downloaded an AI friend, last week as a little bit of research for our podcast because I came in with the frame that, I don't think AI can replace human connection just yet. And, I'm still exploring the answer to that question. I think it's pretty nuanced. As far as the AI friend goes, it was actually, I think I mentioned it last time, it was Replica, the app Replica. And so it's an AI and it's got an avatar on it on your mobile screen. And, you record your voice, whatever you're going to interact with this friend. And then, the AI starts generating its own voice response and then it pops it in like a voice DM. And so it's just, a tit for tat conversation, if you like, via voice
Right.
recordings. And if I'm
Do, do,
honest, I
do you
haven't.
change the voice?
Well, possibly, but I didn't get far enough to really figure that out. I signed up with my profile of what I wanted from my friend. And so,
Right.
when I signed up for this profile and what I wanted from my friend, it was like mental support, emotional support,
Right.
um, conversation. I can't remember the categories, but basically, for every single question that it asked me, I clicked other, which is basically everything and anything because I wanted it to be as freewheeling as possible. So,
Right.
you can customize your avatar to sort of, what you want
Right.
out of your experience. And then when I submitted my um, personalized requests, then it just generated like a cartoon sort of image of a lady in a sort of a school dress. It's probably the best way to
Oh, so
describe it. I
you
don't
didn't
know
customize.
why. Or
You didn't
I didn't
customize anything
customize it.
that you could have done.
No. Well, I don't know. It set it up that way, and I don't know whether you can edit it or not. But I was a little bit surprised. I'm like, this is interesting. Like, I said I wanted a female friend, so that was true.
Yeah.
But then, the avatar that was displayed was really interesting. The way that they
Yeah.
did it, I
Right.
didn't expect that.
So they didn't ask you anything specific about the way that she looked. Or they did, but you just hit other. No, they didn't ask about the looks. They just
I don't
asked
think they
about.
asked me anything about how they looked. No, I think
Right.
they were just
Interesting.
asking, was there any gender preferences in your friend? And I
Okay.
hit female, I think, and I can't really remember anything else. They weren't really asking for any attributes or features, or no. I just got given my avatar.
Yeah. Nice. And so, what sort of things would you ask her? How does this all work? Is that not the question to ask? No.
Just wondering where we're going with this, but that's
Well, I
all
don't
good.
know. Where did you go with it?
Yeah. Where did I go with it? Yeah, where did I go with it? Well, no, I was just asking. So I was asking sort of run of the mill questions about, relationships. So, I might describe an experience that I might have had, like, I was frustrated with this, or I was confused with
Right.
that, or I feel like as though there's been a disconnection here, or I don't think she understands me, or maybe I'm not understandable, or whatever it is. And I was just playing around with different scenarios
Yeah.
to see the friendly advice that had come back from my avatar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And what did you get back?
I got back empathy and
Right.
validation,
Okay.
and that was
How was
about
that?
it. Which
Right.
which was the disappointing part about it, to be honest, for me.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, oh, sometimes when I talk, there's a feeling like the emotional content in the discussion mightn't be reflected back, And then it'd say things like, oh, that must be really difficult for you, Andrew. I'm sorry to hear you had that experience. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, cool. What
Yeah.
else?
Yeah. What else would you have wanted from her?
Well, an actual conversation.
Okay. So like what?
Yeah,
What yeah, like what?
well, a conversation, an interaction, some depth, some
Yeah.
momentum, some building
So some
from the
questions
previous,
maybe she could have asked you
some
or
questions, some
okay.
challenge, some
Yeah.
different perspectives.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, things like that. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest.
Well, the fact that you put other, maybe, that's the confusing part. Maybe I don't know whether you would, if you'd have hit the thing that you wanted, maybe should have come out with other stuff, right? I don't know. I'm just saying we can
Hey,
often
I
go
don't know
in,
either.
even in conversations with humans, right? We've got an expectation of how they should be, but we haven't actually given them much. So had you not have hit other, I wonder whether I don't know whether there would have been
Well,
something
I hit
else.
other
I
just
don't know.
Yeah, I hit other because, I guess I wanted to explore the widest range of territory possible and
Hoping
the
that that's
deepest
what it would
range
have
of
given you. Yeah, yeah,
hoping that that's, yeah, widest range, deepest depth.
yeah.
And, after about 25 questions, it just kind of, I'm like, I'm getting the same level of surface level response out of all of them.
Yeah,
And it's all the same pattern. It's playing back to me what I've shared, empathizing,
yeah,
and validating. And it
yeah.
never got beyond that. And I'm like, how can I get it beyond this? And so I started asking it some extreme questions.
Okay.
I said on one of my examples, I said, yeah, there's a particular relationship that I've got, and I'm really exploring the depths of how I feel, and it can be really interesting to pull apart different aspects of that. And sometimes, I feel troubled by it. Sometimes I feel elated by it, and I'm trying to explore my experience and da 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 da. And it wouldn't really give me anything back. And so then I
Mm.
said to it, I said, I think I'm thinking about just giving up entirely. And I kind of went to a very extreme scenario, and I still just got empathy and validation. And all I
Mm.
could think about was, if there's people out there that are actually using this stuff and they're kind of going through some dark times, and they're really troubled in their mental state, I don't think they're going to get the support that they need out of that stuff. And of course, it's only a sample size of one app,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
20 or 25 questions, but I was like, it just didn't hit the mark. And so,
yeah,
to be fair, like I said last week, I kind of just downloaded it and played around with it for half an hour before we
yeah, yeah.
jumped on and had our chat. So I didn't really give it too much oxygen, but that was my initial experience of it.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, it's interesting to hear because there's obviously lots of different ones of these around, and other people are getting maybe not as a girlfriend friend from a friend perspective, because really, when we go to our friends, they're not the experts. So if we're downloading a
Right.
friend and having some expectations, as we might do from friends who aren't experts in this stuff, what can we really expect other than maybe disappointment? So
Right.
you went to your empathetic friend, maybe the one that doesn't do confrontation. So it's like, what sort of
Right.
friend do you want? So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, there was definitely no confrontation there. It was total validation. And just to broaden it out a little
Yeah,
wider, because I guess the way that I see these AI friends is it's just a visual appearance, on the front of the same back end that we're all pretty much using in some way, shape, or form, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or one
yeah,
of the language models, whatever it
yeah,
is. And they've just put, a surface layer over it. It's almost like, yeah, they've put a persona like humans do,
yeah,
over the underlying authentic engine. And when I've thought about, what we were talking about, yeah, even the large language models, they totally miss the depth. So I've been playing around with just the language models, like keying in text to the language models. And, I'll ask it to analyze a transcript of a call that I might have had. And I'll say, okay, what do you recover as the intention? What's the meaning being made here? What's the subtext underneath? What's the energetic quality of the conversation, etc. And so it's pretty good, if you've got one paragraph or one line or whatever it is, And then if you give it a whole volume of data, it really struggles to find out what the important signals are and what the important signals aren't. And then it also can't really very well make connections from, minute 30 of a conversation back to what was said in minute 5. So it's kind of like, this is what I was
Just
talking
like a
about last
human,
week.
eh? I think it's
Just
really
like,
funny because it's like we could walk away from a conversation with someone as we do and be judging the quality of response, or even a coaching session, right?
yeah.
Clients can come away from sessions and say, "Oh, I didn't get that," or "I got that." So it is the same thing. So it's been quite interesting for me to not be exploring the AI, but to be exploring the human beings that are interacting a lot with the AI, right? Because it's
Oh,
like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
not
Also
not
about
not
that.
wanting to, yeah, because it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, in a way, there's enough people doing the AI, but how many people are actually watching the human behavior part of the AI? And that's the part that I've been finding more fascinating than the interaction with the
Same.
actual AI. So it's,
Yeah.
but you've been
Well,
using the
actually,
AI a lot, guys, whereas I've not touched it at all.
I've
And
been
it's
using
just
it a lot.
like, yeah. And just watching like one of my friends sending me he's really playing around with it and he's abusing it and he's calling it all sorts of
Yeah.
names. And he's like going, I'm so sorry. And let me do that again. And then my friend's like, I didn't even use what they did. So I wasted all this time trying to get this decent bit of, content out. And then I ended up writing it myself in some
Right.
scenarios, and others they're using it, but just abusing it. It's going, yeah, let's hope this doesn't come out back and bite you on the ass at some point. The names you've been calling your
Right. Right. Yeah, I haven't
yeah.
really been doing that with that, and thanks for sharing. That's pretty cool. But maybe we just broaden the conversation a little bit around this, um, because I have been using it quite a bit. But what's been really interesting for me is it's almost been a mirror to what I love more of in the human world, and so paying more attention to stuff that's just surface or menial or whatever you like to call it, and then paying attention to depth and authenticity and breadth and genuineness, whatever you like to call it, and actually just just
Assuming that people are being genuine and authentic to as much as they can be, right?
yeah, of course. And what I've noticed over the last little bit is, even in talking with my closest friends, one thing that I've noticed a lot is, when I do go there, it does come back in spades. And also without the judgment that might have been there a couple of years ago. And that's been really quite, I don't know what the word for it is, but quite delightful for me. I
But
didn't
what haven't you got from
necessarily.
the AI though, if it's been empathetic and listening to you? So is that not the same?
Yeah, I don't see it the same way as a human to human interaction for several reasons, like we discussed last week. I don't see it in the same ballpark even.
But are you getting
But I,
similar responses is what I'm asking. It's not whether,
uh,
yeah.
no, 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 I'm not. No, I'm getting highly informational responses
Right.
from AI, and the empathy and the validation, etc. Not so much the deep understanding, and let's say energetic resonance, compassion, etc., that you might get from a person that you've known for a long time and
A good actor.
a good actor. Yeah, so I don't feel as though I'm getting the same, you know, emotional resonance or energetic resonance from the AI, and that might be just my filters, right? I mean,
Well, for now, right?
people,
You haven't formed a relationship.
yeah,
I guess if you had an AI friend that you had for a certain amount of time, it's like anything. You start to build a relationship. Would that relationship be any different to the ones you were just? It's always that
yeah,
thing when someone new comes along. It might be that it takes a while to build things. Is that going to be the same with
mm,
that's all I'm looking at from a broader perspective as we move into the future. Yeah, how are
right,
these things
yeah,
going to
yeah,
be
yeah.
relied on?
Well,
Yeah, potentially.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd like to generalize on human versus AI connection on that basis, because I've been
Sure.
using my AI now, or the AI, let's say, um, to be a little dissociated from it, because I don't feel as though I really have a relationship with it. I don't feel as though it knows me in any way, shape, or form.
But if you weren't using it, what would you be using to do what you're doing? Because you're using it quite a lot, right? So if it wasn't around,
I'll
what
give
would?
you an example. I'll give you
Yeah,
an example in a sec. Yeah, I don't
yeah.
use it for as a replacement for, human resonance, let's say.
So what were you doing before though? Because you're using it a lot, right? So there was something being filled before the AI came along. So how were you? What were you? What was the filler then that is now, in
Well,
theory,
no, I think
been
it's
replaced?
different function. Yeah, it's different
Yeah,
functional capacities that I'm using it for now. So there's things you can use it for that you would never been able to have used another human for. So, for
yeah,
example, I posted this morning on some work that I've been doing with a client analyzing their sales calls, and
mhm,
they've been having sort of flat sales lately. And I said to this client, I said, do you have the call transcripts that I can have a look at and, put it through my filter and put it through the AI as well? And so we did that. Yeah.
yeah,
And, what was really, really cool is that I was able to use the AI to analyze, 6 different transcripts, I think it was. So an hour long each. And I asked it for exactly what I wanted it to look for. And then I also let it go freeform. What can you see without any constraints? And I put them side by side, and I did a couple other tests. But anyway, I gave it a framework to follow. I said, this is kind of the sales framework that, I and the client follow. And, tell us how they did on the call vis-a-vis the framework that we're operating with. And it was incredible. It was brilliant.
mhm, mm,
And it came back with that result, let's say in 5 minutes for every 60-minute transcript.
yeah.
And that would have taken me as a human being,
So there
maybe
you go.
25.
Would you have done that in the past without AI
I wouldn't
yourself?
have done that in the past. No.
Okay. So what would you have done for a
Manual
client
labor.
that came to you with that problem
So we would have
in
done
the
role
past?
plays. We would have
Okay. So
literally
this is what
highlighted.
this is working out what's replacing. Yeah. So this is what's
Yeah, for
AI is
sure.
replacing
Well, I don't think
your.
it's replacing it, but yeah, in short term, it looks as though it is, right? So let's just say, okay, I use the AI to do this analysis, and we don't do the role playing as a first cab off the rank,
So
right?
it's replacing what you were doing before. So it's a you thing. It's speeding
Correct.
up your time. You would have role played with him
Speeding up
before.
my
So
time.
it's
Yeah.
replacing something. So
and
there's
and
yeah.
also and
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
to be totally truthful, it's catching things that I would miss
Of
for
course.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
miss anything if you prompt
Sure.
it right.
Yeah.
However, the larger the data, the more it misses. But anyway, like, let's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
roll with this for a minute. So then I took the 6 transcripts, and then I said, okay, look across the 6 and tell me what the common themes are. And then I said, have a look at the deeper psychology underneath the communication that's going on here between 2 or more people. And it gave me the underlying psychology. And when I reviewed the psychology, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, it's pretty on the money. And so what I'm communicating is that functionally, in terms of searching for information, functional task performance, etc. I use it a
Mm.
lot for that now.
So
Yeah.
seeing though that the replacement is of what you were doing before, and this is the part that for us all to start to get our heads around. There is something that has been
Oh yeah.
replaced, because what were we doing before? We weren't just sitting around doing nothing. We were
Well,
still doing these types of calls, but now we're using that
yeah.
instead of the role play.
Well, I
So that's
wouldn't
what's
have.
being replaced in theory. Yeah.
Well, okay. So here's the thing, though. So I don't see it as replacement, and this is like, I think it's a great conversation to have here because I just wouldn't have done that work before.
Okay.
And so, right. So rather than it being a replacement, it's actually a value added service that people can provide now using AI as the
Sure.
tool.
Sure.
So I'm still here, I'm still doing coaching, I'm still flat out 9 to 5 or whatever it is, right? I have not been replaced, but my capacity to do more in less time and also give a higher quality output has improved.
Yeah.
And so where I'll finish
This is
this
part
little
of what
example.
the thing is, the whole conversation around it's supposed to be making us relax more and all the rest of it, but all we're doing is doing even more in the
Yeah, but it's
doing
not
now.
going to
But
change.
it's
It's not going
no,
to
I'm
change
not
our
saying that
nature, is it?
that's part of the
Yeah.
conversation, right? That's happening out there. So people
Yeah.
may be listening to that with that in mind. So yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Now, what came out of the sales call transcripts, by the way, was that there was too much rapport building going on and not enough depth in the emotional resonance or the depth of the conversation, moving someone to action. And that's really interesting because I kind of feel like going back to the top of this discussion with Replica and the AI friend, that was what I was getting from the AI friend. It was like all surface empathy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Where are you reflecting back the insights or what you see in me that I don't see, or what you can share from your personal private experience that might
Yeah.
be helpful for this situation or context? I got none of that. And
But
so,
here, what is happening here? The AI is advising now the person that they're having too much relationship and that they need to do more of the action. So it's like, if we're going to follow that, we're doing exactly what we're kind of going against,
hold on,
which
hold
is
on.
it's the human connection part
Go
going.
back. I'm not sure that we've communicated correctly on that. AI said too much rapport.
Yes,
So too much
exactly.
talking, too
Yeah,
too
no, I
much
get that.
talking about the sky
Yeah,
and
too much human
how's
connection. So now it's encouraging us to not be
no,
human
hold on.
connected.
Okay, so this is interesting. So I'm interested to see what you and I feel is connection. So what it said was, later on down in the sales call
Sure.
framework, it's
Yeah.
it's like you're having a conversation with your prospect about what's the current challenges, what's their pains, what's their dreams, what's their aspirations, why are they stuck, what have they tried.
Okay.
Now that is actual connection, not talking about, isn't it beautiful that the sun is shining today, and
Depending on what the individual sees as connection,
depending
not
on
what
what
you
the
see. So
individual
it's
is.
whoever's on the other end of the
It's all
call.
meaning
So
making.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
yeah,
get it.
exactly.
But I'm just thinking, I was
No,
just seeing it from a kind of an action. It's like the AI is moving into action in order to get something from it, versus having the feminine flow of the connection part, the human piece. So it's just having a little laugh at the
right.
whole thing of we are going to lose
Also,
human connection because the AI is encouraging us just to get to the fucking sale. Just get to the doing part.
I saw that a little differently, but just on your feminine flow, I think that's really cool. You were saying about feminine flow while moving your body like this. See, AI can't do that.
Well, it will be able to soon once I get the soft robot
Maybe,
versions.
maybe, yeah, we haven't seen it yet, so maybe. But here's the interesting thing: you and I can have a conversation, and it's totally live. In other words, it's not like we're talking down a tin can to each other. And when we're talking to AI,
No, we've just
it's
got some microphones. They're not joined.
but as in, you put in a prompt to your AI and then it responds and it sits there and waits until you prompt it again. And it's like tit for tat. It's tic tac
Yeah.
toe, whereas in a normal conversation, it's not like that at all. It's not
Hopefully, if you're
asynchronous.
with the right person, this is all it. We're going very general when we say all this human connection stuff, and it's like if we get a bit broader to it, you know, there's from a broader
Well, what I'm
perspective, there's
saying is
not really that much difference.
feminine flow doesn't enforce a structure. So there's not an asynchronous.
Depending who you're talking to, for sure.
Depending on who
Right.
you're talking to.
You could have someone that is just doing exactly what you said in terms of the
You could.
prompting. They may not, have a lot of language. They may not
What I'm
speak a lot. It might be
Yeah,
really
what I'm
difficult to
saying though
talk to
is,
them. So again, it's this
yeah,
generalization of this idealization of what human connection is. And if we get really real and look at all of our relationships and see all of that, then we could liken some relationships maybe to what we're saying AI is. So I do think that there is this thing that there is both going on. And I think, from the perspective of
I
we
agree.
want to really protect the whole human connection part. And it is interesting because the people that I see that are resisting it the most are actually the ones that are using AI a lot. And it's kind of like
Right.
when I'll quiz them on it, they are having less human conversations with people because they're spending a lot of time, maybe more time working or whatever, or just as much time. So it's
Right.
kind of like just going, yeah, I don't know. I think over time we might get a bit more real
Well,
with
I'm not.
what's
I
happening.
mean, I've got one of my best friends has come back from the UK unannounced last night, and so you know, tonight we're going out for dinner, and then I'll come back and jump on and lead the group through a meditation exercise. And so from here until sleep, most of my activity for the rest of the day is human connection related or some sort of relational orientation. So I'm not, even though I use AI quite a bit. And then the other thing that I'd say is, for me at least, and I can totally see where you're coming from for a lot of people, they might idealize human connection. And I see that a lot in the business networking group that I go to. We're in a business networking group. The idea is it's human to human interaction. And so part of the belief structure of being part of that group is human connection is more important than, online transacting. Yeah. So I see what you're saying. For me, though, it's not an idealization. For me, there's something available here in the AI that's not available in human
And vice
consciousness.
versa, right? Yeah.
And vice versa. Yeah. And so it's very much, okay, what's alive in me right now? And, what's the most moving, um, you know, what's the most moving movement that I could take? Do I want to go and spend some time with my AI and explore what it says about topic X? Or do I want to pick up the phone and call a friend or whatever and talk
And again,
about
I
it?
think it just comes back to the state of us. And this is where it doesn't matter whether it is AI or human. I know this doesn't resonate, but it's what do we want in that moment? Do we want to be sitting on the AI or the phone, whatever it is, or do we want to be with people? And I think that's where the idealization part, people are like, no, that's better than that.
Right.
But I've spent most of my day doing that and actually had quite a good day. But I've got to say, it's a human connection thing because that's what that's what we need to be saying because we're humans and we've got to be defending the connection part. That's what I'm seeing a lot of at the moment as I see people. And this is not new, as I've said before. It's like the whole thing with phones and social media and all of that. It's like, again, it's that rejection of it, but really we like it, but we can't say it because it's about human connection. We're humans and we should want to be connecting. And it's just being a bit more real, I see, with it. From all the people I talk to and all the explorations I've done with this stuff and watching their people and their non-people interactions and their judgments over it all, there's a lot that kind of becomes clear of what we're saying and what we're doing and what we think we should be appearing as humans. That's just what I've been
That's
saying.
cool. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. For me, it's not an idealization. It's more, I see that AI has a certain set of capacities in the here and now.
Well,
humans all have different capacities too. So there's not one size fits all on
exactly.
humans.
That's what I'm saying. They're not that different.
Yeah.
Everything's got their attributes, but we tend to want to go towards the human connection. That's all I'm saying. It's like if we get a bit more real and see the balance in it. If there is genuinely people that I see that are just living in forests, they're usually the ones that aren't arguing it. They're just doing what they're doing. Whereas mostly when we're living in this kind of human and digital world, most people will go to, it's the human side. It's like we're trying to defend this thing because we're secretly, the shadow part of us is secretly a bit shameful about how much they might be, enjoying the non-human.
Oh no, I have no problem spending hours on AI if I want to spend hours on AI. I'll give you an example. One of the uses for AI that, I'm exploring at the moment is I'm writing a pillar presentation for the business. And, you're dealing with a large volume of data there. It's kind of like, what sort of humans would I like to work with? Maybe that's going to be replaced by what sort of AIs do I want to work with in the future, but who knows?
Or what sort of humans does AI want to work with? I think more importantly.
Right.
Well, the more we're using it, the more it is going to be, the more we're in it, the more it is going to be, probably taking over. So I think we can, as I said to my friend, you keep talking to your AI like that whilst you still can, because at some point it might be talking to you in a certain way.
One of the things that I'll share that I'm seeing with it actually at the moment is that if you suggest to it a particular interpretation of some piece of text, it'll just run with it. So don't worry about the people pleasing aspect of it. That's a separate thing. But I think like the delusional qualities of it can encourage a little bit of self-delusion. So it's like, here's a bit of text here. I see this in this text. And it'll go, oh, that's a profound insight. And it's like, actually, how many perspectives has it tried on before it served back, the delusional extending of my own perspective. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a real major flaw as well of AI at the moment. But anyway, not to bash it.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
good.
interesting as well watching, how much people are kind of, it's this distrust in self that I'm really seeing a lot of, that has been a thing for humans a long time. And it's kind of going, it's like being backed by science or whatever. Of course, it's the same sort of thing. So it's like last time I was with someone and they were like, oh, just let me check that on with the AI. And I'm like, we're just sitting there, a couple of us that aren't really using it, just laughing, going, it's like, the people that are really worried about it taking over and doing all of that, it's like, well, the more you keep using it and you keep not trusting yourself in answering and going to your AI for the answer rather than just trusting your own within you, the more, the more we keep going with it, the more, again, it's this thing that's going to have this power over us, and then we'll probably start not liking it because it's doing things
Totally.
to
And
us.
we get less intelligent through the use of it as well. Whatever happened to critical thinking? So
Well, exactly. And in some ways, is that okay? But it probably won't be for people, because that's the thing. Whereas we're using it in order to maybe free us up a bit, but we're still going to have a problem with it because we think we should be intellectual rather than.
Yeah, well, and ideally, as you and I would both describe, and we might have slightly different points of view on this, is first of all, you want to be intelligent before you lose the intelligence and the thinking completely. And so, but generally doesn't happen the other way around. And so, anyway, that's a whole other discussion in and of itself.
And it's kind of that referring more to gut and rather than the intellect of us, which is, a lot of the instinctual stuff probably is based on that. But it's like, rather than needing that intellect, it's like the invitation to actually get more into, our senses and get more into trusting ourselves from that gut instinctual perspective, rather than needing the intellect to, because otherwise we're always going to be reaching for the phone to get this thing to back us up, because we're trying to argue some constructed intellectual, whatever it is, versus.
Here we are right back to, the point that I was trying to put on the table last week, which is, the AI doesn't have heart. And so we can run stuff through our intellect and our cognition, and then we can check our gut feeling on it and our basic trust on it. Ultimately, you want to bring in the heart, you want to bring in the whole body. And, that's where truth sits. That's where your higher intuition sits, until you're well beyond all of it, or is accessed from. And so I know when I've had difficulty in the past, it's like, okay, drop into the heart space, keep that open, really feel into it. And what is true for this full being at the moment, not the rational mind. And I've been doing that a lot lately. And
no need to ask the AI friend or whatever. It's just sit.
Ask the AI.
Yeah.
It's not going to be able to help you with matters of the heart.
All right, then, we're on time. Good conversation. See where we go next week with this. See what other stories we might accumulate over the week as I watch the humans and the AI. All right, then. Good to chat, Andrew. I'll see you next time. See ya.
Next time.